go. Get up and get the guy go. Gotta wake up.
What is happening, fellow pioneers of human transportation? I'm Yogi Steve. You're watching ESA, the Electric Scooter Academy. Thanks for joining me. It's nice to be sitting down to make a video. You've seen me ride these scooters. You've seen many of the YouTubers ride these scooters. These scooters have been out for at least a couple of years. Everything you need to know about the Wolf King GT and the Mantis King GT is pretty much already out there on YouTube. So most of this review is going to be sort of my opinion piece. Maybe I'll give you some comparison to the scooters that I've driven in my past. Everybody knows I've driven a lot of miles on Dualtron. Well, I'm proud to say that I've now put over, how many we got? 600 on this one. How many miles we got on this one? I forgot. 300. So I'm happy to say I have now officially put in over 1,000 miles on the Kaabo line of scooters, on the Wolf King GT, on the Mantis King GT. And a lot of this is just going to be my opinion. I'll tell you a little bit about the differences between Kaabo and Dualtron, because I know that's a big question for people. But I don't really think that's important. I want to focus on what I like and what I don't like about the scooters that are here in front of me. Comparison shopping is a small part of how you should do your research when you're looking for scooters in the future. And I can tell you right now, every scooter that I drive, my Dualtrons, my Kaabos, my Roadrunners, these are all great vehicles. Everything I have a bonus code for, I believe in, and I can tell you a lot about these vehicles from first-hand experience. I wanted to make most of this review about the King GT. I'm also going to talk about the Mantis as well. So let's just get through the Mantis really quick. The Mantis will cost you about $2,200. It's an amazing scooter. It's really the perfect scooter for somebody who has driven a fast single motor scooter for a long time. So let's say if you're used to the rental scooters, or maybe you already have an EMOVE cruiser and want to go one step up in speed and acceleration and just general type of scooter, the Mantis is the next step up. This scooter is fast as hell. It's got unbelievable acceleration. It can easily reach 45 miles per hour. I really love riding it. I got the Mantis before I got the Wolf. And man, my first couple times on the Mantis is just a completely different experience. I never drove like a $2,000-ish scooter that I really liked. I really like the way the Mantis rides. One of the things that I noticed, which is the obvious difference between the Kaabo line and the Dualtron line, is the stem on the Kaabo line on both these scooters, it's very stiff. It's very pretty much fixed into place. Now that's not to say that there's anything wobbly or janky about the Dualtron stem. You have to maintain it properly and it will do well. But the Kaabo stem is just stiff. It's solid as a rock. And on the Mantis, there's some really cushy suspension in the front and the back. Maybe I'll talk about this more in the future, but I like the cushy suspension on the smaller scooters. I don't like cushy suspension on bigger scooters. I don't think it's necessary. The King doesn't have that cushy suspension. But the Mantis is fast. It's got these 10-inch wheels. It's got Zoom hydraulic brakes. I'll talk about the brakes on both these vehicles. Zoom brakes are perfect for the Mantis. It's not a giant, oversized scooter. Zoom brakes have plenty of power. You'll be able to stop on a dime with them. The pads last a long time. They're easy to change, and they're relatively easy to maintain. I've used Zoom brakes on a lot of my scooters. They're on my Roadrunners, and Zoom brakes are great. There's a little bit of a problem with the Zoom brakes as you get into the bigger scooters, and I'm going to talk to you about that when we talk about the King. The Mantis is really easy to fold up. The locking mechanism is very intuitive. It's very easy to use. It's got this adjustable rear suspension, which I haven't really played much with. I kind of just kept it on whatever setting it was on. Suspension to me doesn't really mean that much. As long as it's not super stiff, like a commuter scooter with no suspension, if I have a little bit of suspension, that's really all that I need. Like I said before, I think too much suspension can be a problem as scooters get bigger and heavier. But I do like the Mantis. It's got dual charging ports if you want to put two chargers on it. I would actually first use two chargers before I use the supercharger. I don't recommend or use superchargers. One, I have dogs, so the hair gets into the fan in there and they tend to break. And after going through a supercharger every year for 150 bucks, I went to regular chargers, which seem to last to infinity. I've never broken a regular charger. All my original chargers from my original scooters, they all still work. It's unbelievable. Overall, the Mantis King GT is a freaking amazing scooter. I really like it. If you're buying any of these, by the way, let me tell you now, don't forget to use my bonus code, Electric Scooter Academy. I only sell through my videos products that I use and believe in. You've probably seen my good friend Sarah do a lot of miles on the Mantis. She loves it. I told her in the future I'll probably just give it to her at one point. I do ride it. I'm going to ride it a little bit today for a chore, but for work, I like the bigger scooters. So at this price point, I think the Mantis King GT is really one of the best values, one of the best scooters on the market. If you're looking for a scooter in this category, buy the Mantis, completely vetted by the community, vetted by me. Now we're going to talk about the Wolf King GT. I have a little more details about this scooter. This scooter was more interesting to me than the Mantis. I really like big scooters, you know, for myself, for work especially. I like to have a big scooter for deliveries. It's really as simple as that. Smaller scooters are fine, but bigger scooters have better range. I'm more comfortable in and out of traffic on a bigger scooter. It's kind of like I'm on a small motorcycle. This thing is faster than a fucking Honda Grom, so you know it's very fast. So I do have some specific points about the King. I made some notes. Let's go. Remember, a lot of this is just opinion. Anything you need to learn about these scooters, other YouTubers have done. Ginger on Wheels especially, Freshly Charged, and whatever Electric Scooter Guide is calling them now, whatever the name of it, I think they're called the Rider's Guide now. They've done unbelievable work on the Kaabo line. You can check them out for like more specific stuff. I'm going to run through the Wolf King GT piece by piece and tell you what I like about it. I mean, mostly it's all likes. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm selling it. I am selling it. There's always a little bit of bias. The average person knows there's a little bit of bias when somebody is selling something, but I'm out there using this scooter every day and I'm looking forward to using it every day. So I really like it. The motors are big. I think they're 2,000 watts, but they're quiet. They're not super loud. I really like that about the motors. The tires seem really durable. I'm at 600 miles on this scooter, and even though the front tire is spinning out a little bit upon takeoff, these tires are still almost brand new at 600 miles. So I like the road tires on these. I definitely prefer road tires above the off-road tires. So if you're looking at this scooter, I would order it with the road tires, not the off-road tires, unless you're going off-road. The brakes are Zoom brakes. And like I was alluding to before, Zoom brakes are fine for the Mantis. They're fine for the King, but really a scooter this big and fast, in the future, I'm going to upgrade to a better set of brakes. One thing this scooter really taught me was the difference between Zoom and nut hydraulic brakes. There's no doubt that nuts are better. They're better at slowing you down from higher speed. That's for sure. I know a lot about nut brakes. I've done a lot of distance on them. So for the King, the Zoom brakes work fine. I have 600 plus miles on it. On the stock brakes. I'm not going to change them for a while, but as a long-term project, I'll probably put like some nut hydraulics on here. You don't have to put on $500 Maguras. You can put on an inexpensive pair of a dual piston or maybe the new 4-piston nuts that are coming out, but the Zoom brakes are a little mediocre. Really one of my very few complaints about the King, just because it's so big and fast. At high speed, I've learned that I have to brake a little bit earlier than I would if I had nut brakes on there, and I'd like to see them have a slightly better braking system. The battery takes a long time to charge, again, like I was talking about before. I only use one charger at a time. They both have dual ports. I only use one charger at a time. I only use regular chargers, not superchargers. They say it's better for the battery if you do not use a supercharger in the long run. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, but the battery takes a long time to charge, but I have plenty of scooters. If you need to, get a second charger and you can charge them in half the time with dual ports. I'm not sure what the charging time is. It seems like it's about 18 hours from empty, but again, you can check out Ginger on Wheels, Rider's Guide, Freshly Charged. They can tell you about that. One thing I really love about this scooter is these extra wide handlebars. I love these wide handlebars. I've seen a lot of guys over the years upgrade their scooters to just wider handlebars. I never really understood why, but man, you get much better ride control with your hands out to the side. Especially also, since I stand towards the back of the scooter, wider is better. Wider for some reason feels better as I stand at the back of the scooter, so I love the wider handlebars. Maybe another negative about the scooter is the weight. It's 125 pounds. Now the actual profile, bottom to top, front to back, if I compare it to the Ultra 2, which is really probably the similar Dualtron competitor in this category, they look similar profile-wise. There's a little more width in the handlebars here. The Ultra has a bigger deck. But this scooter, if I'm not mistaken, is 125 pounds, and the Ultra is 90 pounds. This scooter is 35 pounds more than the Ultra. This scooter is heavy as hell. I've gotten used to handling it. There's a way to handle a big scooter. Basically, you want to turn it around in tight quarters, lock up your left brakes, and pivot off the wheel. Once you get used to dealing with these, you can pick these off the ground. They're not that big of a deal. But this is an unbelievably heavy scooter, and you definitely recognize it. Now look, when I'm out there on the road going fast, I like to have a lot of weight under me. me. So it doesn't really bother me too much that it's big. If you're gonna put the King in your car though, understand when you fold this scooter, it actually gets longer. So I'm not sure if it fits in every car, but that is definitely a serious drawback if you're traveling with the scooter. When you fold this down, it grows a little bit longer. It doesn't get smaller or maintain the same profile. So keep that in mind if you're looking at the King. I like the folding mechanism on this. I know for years people have said kind of shitty things about the folding mechanism, like it's hard to use. To me, it was very intuitive. I really like it, and it's super solid. I think the folding mechanism is fantastic. Makes no freaking noise. I don't really see any maintenance that I need to do on it. I constantly check all my nuts, bolts, and screws, but I do like the hinge on here. I think it is intuitive. I don't know why anybody would have a problem with the hinge. Now, talking about acceleration, King is freaking insane. Unbelievably torquey, smooth acceleration with the sine wave controller. It feels like it's a bottomless pit of acceleration. You could be going 40 miles an hour, trigger it, boom, you're gonna feel it. You're going 50 miles an hour, trigger it, holy shit. It's like a bottomless reservoir of power. Unbelievably fast. I've heard of guys going, I don't even want to tell you, as much as 70 miles an hour. I have done 50 on this. I do 50 on this, or 49 to be exact, very regularly in my delivery videos, but I generally just drive it at 40 miles an hour. That is fast enough. This thing has a very high top end, very crazy acceleration. There's nothing in this category that will outperform it, okay? So you want to compare it to a Dualtron or a Nami. They're all very similar when it comes to this type of performance. Top speed and acceleration. It's like looking at three of your top three favorite, most beautiful women and trying to figure out which one is better looking. You know, it doesn't, they're fucking all amazing. All those women are amazing. The top two or three scooter brands make only good products. So this thing is fast as hell. It has really different ride feel than the Dualtron. The Dualtron, the suspension is sort of built into the entire scooter, the way the entire thing flexes. The suspension on these is built into the two front forks and the rear bushings. Now the truth is, I don't think this gives some crazy cushy suspension. I think it's still generally pretty stiff. With the front end being so tight, when you're holding on, there's a little more transference of energy into your upper body. I don't want to sound like a hippie or anything like that, but riding this, physically it's a little harder because this is stiff. The whole top portion is stiff. So when you're holding onto it, there's no energy will not dissipate into the vehicle. It dissipates into your body. So you definitely notice the stiff front end. So it was really interesting for me to go from riding Dualtrons that have sort of a flexibility to the way the entire vehicle moves to this Kaabo line. This front end being stiff like this, it's really incredible. It does give you a very good sense of security. There's no creaking, there's no noise, there's no play. But I'm telling you, the drawback is when you're holding on, all the energy that accumulates up here while you're riding, it can't go anywhere because it's so stiff. It goes into your upper body. So I feel like I've been getting stronger riding this scooter as I adapt to it. The handling, as far as going in and out of turns and stuff like that, all stand-up scooters suck at handling. You're lucky you can get around a corner without crashing. Scooters are great on a straight line. These are not made for racing. I am against the general idea of stand-up scooter racing. I think it looks a little bit silly, and I think that since these vehicles can't corner for shit, how far can you lean over before you crash? The handling on this scooter is like any other high-end scooter. It's freaking great, but it is what it is. One thing that I should mention is that at high speeds, super stable. You'll notice that a lot of scooters nowadays have a steering damper, that extra arm that they put here and they attach it to the stem. That's because, in my opinion, they are engineering scooters mostly for top speed, not thinking about the body as much as far as what can happen. So you have scooters that are capable of doing 50 and 60, but without the damper, the scooter will start to vibrate. I can tell you at 50 miles an hour, zero vibrations, and from what I've heard from other people, at 1,000,000 miles an hour, really as fast as 70 miles an hour, the front end on this King does not vibrate. It's just super freaking durable. I'm trying to hit on all the high points, all the stuff that would be important to a regular buyer. I mean, obviously there's the price. This is a $3,300 scooter. They're like originally over 4,000 bucks right when they're brand new or around there. But now the scooter has been on the market for a while. Voro has them at a permanent discount. You can get them for like 3,300 bucks. You use my bonus code, you get it for 3,250 bucks. There's not a better time to buy a scooter. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be asking about the GTR, the next generation of Kaabo scooters, and I will talk about that when it comes out. I'm not going to review it or really do much with it unless I get one. I'm not sure if I'm going to get one or not. I don't really know. But I know a lot of people might be thinking about waiting for the GTR, and here's what I'm going to tell you about scooters. If you made it to the end of this video, I know a lot of people don't. Here is, I think, something that Not everybody knows or understands, and I've said it before in public. I don't buy a brand new scooter when it's first off the line. Why don't you let the community vet it for 3 to 6 months? Let a whole bunch of other people buy it, beat the shit out of it, tell us what's wrong with it, and then you can buy it. You shouldn't have any buyer's anxiety when it comes to electric scooters, because whatever is hot today will be old news in 2 years. If you wanted to save money, the best way to save money is to buy a model that's a couple of years old. So, you know, the King's been on the market for a couple of years. It's not like the GTR is going to have that much more performance. It's not. The main thing the GTR I think is going to have is the removable battery. If that's important to you, if you want a removable battery from the deck, then you're going to wait for the GTR. But that scooter is going to be over $4,000, I am sure. $3,250 for the King. They are freaking giving it away. I paid $4,500 for my very first big scooter in 2019. This is an insane deal. I hope this helps you make your decision as you look at scooters. I know it is difficult trying to pick out a scooter that works for you. I am selling scooters through my affiliate links. I do take that sort of seriously. I really only work with Voromotors, so I just always like to make you aware of that. They don't sponsor these videos, they don't pay me to make them, but they've given me the scooters and I get a small percentage kickback if you buy anything. If you use my code, all you're really doing is supporting me as a content creator. I put out 6 or 7 videos a week and I love doing it, but it's also nice to make some money. All right, guys, I appreciate your support. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave comments, ask questions. Check out my Patreon. I'm posting there once a week. Again, don't forget about the bonus code for these scooters. Link in description. See you next time. Thanks.